At the nodal points of our life, the limiting dharma karma and the current prarabdha karma act with particular force. In fact, if a person is not a sadhu, there is no chance of transcending them. Only through the tapasya of a sadhu can this be accomplished. The first nodal point is the entry of consciousness into the mixture of the mother's ovum and the father's seed during the parents' sexual union. When the soul abides in the space of the subtle world, the sexual act of the future parents generates powerful energetic vortices. The vortex draws the soul into the union with the mother's ovum and the father's seed, and consciousness becomes bound to these rebirth-producing secretions. If the soul was in an intermediate state without a body, now it is obliged to incarnate. Conception has occurred, the embryo is forming, and the soul cannot depart. The second nodal point is birth from the mother's womb. When the union has taken place and gestation proceeds, birth inevitably arrives. The third nodal point is the whole of life with its principal events, the growth and maintenance of the organism, maturation, marriage, accumulation of wealth, fame, sex, the birth of children, attachments, and property. This long layer of life is difficult to control if a person is not a sadhu. It is called the stage of karmic actions. Different people pass through it with different degrees of ease, but for everyone it is a nodal point. Birth in samsara has occurred, the body has been obtained, and it is compelled to perform karmic actions. Having been born, we must walk, eat, sleep. The energy of desires holds us in the cage of body and world until its charge is exhausted. The fourth nodal point is aging and death, the dissolution of the 5 elements. The earth element dissolves. A person feels as though the ground is leaving from under the feet. The water element dissolves. A tearful mood arises, and mirages are seen. The fire element dissolves. The body is seized by heat, and visions resemble a burning forest. The wind element dissolves. A sense of lightness and rotation appears, with chaotic visions. The space element dissolves. A sense of space arises, at first indistinct and then as pure light. Breathing ceases. Next, the 5th nodal point is the experience of primordial light. No one can avoid these nodal points. They are inevitable, regardless of mind, wealth, or spiritual practice. After the dissolution of the 5 elements, the soul stands before primordial light, before God. If the soul is impure, it recoils as from a magnesium flash and moves toward dimmer, familiar worlds, the lower levels of astral space, where the intermediate state begins, antarbhava. If the soul is pure, it integrates with the light, and the process of jyoti yoga begins, the dissolution of karma and liberation. Integration with this light requires the deepest presence. Memory must be purified, and the subtle body must be stable. Then it is said, the light of the sun joins with the light of the mother. The soul is like a son sitting on his mother's lap, openly and joyfully. If, however, there are impurities, attachments, egoism, and no contemplative samadhi, integration is impossible. The soul recoils, quickly falls out of the light, and goes into dimmer worlds. The search for a new world for incarnation begins, and the process of rebirth repeats. At the 5th node, liberation is possible. If a yogin, during life, practiced Shambhavi Mudra, Brahmavichara, purified himself, and deeply established himself in the natural state, in Sahaja Samadhi, then, upon experiencing the 5th node, he is liberated. The soul no longer returns to the circle of birth. As milk is poured into milk, as butter into butter, it unites with the non-dual light of Brahman. If, however, liberation did not occur at the 5th node, a 6th node arises, the moment of exit from the light, the appearance of dualistic thoughts, ghostly visions, and mirages. Everything that is within materializes. Imagine meditation. Thoughts come to the mind, and now all of this manifests. This state is inevitable if one did not manage to be liberated at the 5th node. The 7th node is travel in the mental body. From scattered impressions, a mental body is formed, which gradually ceases to resemble the former one and creates a new configuration, closer to the body of future birth. The mental body travels in the intermediate state. It encounters deceased relatives, gods, spiritual mentors. It moves with the speed of thought, sees past and future incarnations, and understands the structure of karma. It moves according to the laws of karma, and it is impossible to stop it without being a sadhu. A sadhu who practiced Nidra Yantra and the yoga of the illusory body has an opportunity at this stage to be liberated. He can transform into a Jnana Devata, a Dhyana Devata, or Bhagavan Dattatreya, recall the instructions, the key points of the illusory body, understand bhava, spanda, jyoti, and so forth. With the help of mantra and visualization of the seed syllable in the heart, the yogin governs the process, develops luminosity, and forms an illusory body with 32 divine signs. The eighth node is the search for a new womb. One who could not be liberated by tantric methods begins to seek a new body for incarnation. Karma carries him, and the search is inevitable. A more favorable reincarnation is possible, the closing of the gates of the lower worlds and birth in a pure land, if visualization was performed and the connection with the divine was preserved. Recommendations for closing the gates of the womb. If you see people in a sexual act, do not become involved. Resist. Imagine them as a tantric deity in union, as Bhagavan Dattatreya, and express devotion. Perform puja, say namaste, and go further. Do not follow passion. Strike it down by the force of bhava. Another method is to remember all one's merits, donations, the building of temples, and so forth. Attain an exalted bhava, and with its help avoid the lower worlds that draw one in. Once I dreamed of a situation similar to Bardo. It resembled a city with an underground passage. Along it walked an elderly man, like a spirit. Other spirits began to harass him, in the form of young men, trying to rob him, beat him, or drag him somewhere. In life, this man had been a warrior, a veteran who fought for his homeland. The spirit seized him, and he did not know what to do. Suddenly he remembered his merits. He fought for his homeland and had medals and orders. Suddenly awards appear on his clothing. Experiencing rapture and recollection of his merits, he addressed the spirits with great force. I fought for my homeland. I suffered, spilled blood. Away. All the spirits scatter, and he went further in an exalted bhava. Thus he used this method of closing the gates of the womb. He did not allow negative beings to drag his soul away. Merits truly work. Memory of them really helps. I was inspired that a person could be freed thanks to his heroism. Perhaps he went to the heavens for warriors, kshatriyas who fell in battle or risked their lives. Such heavens also exist. To close the womb, different methods can be used. Remember one's merits. Imagine men and women in union as tantric deities. Perform puja to them and see them in a pure dimension. Visualize light in a luminous space and enter it. Thus the gates of the womb are closed. The path to a new birth is blocked, and the soul can move toward higher worlds, pure lands, and heavenly dimensions. If a yogin possesses the practice of the illusory body, he can do this by a simple transformation, recollecting the Ishta Devata or the refuge tree. In general, it is important to recall any action capable of changing bhava, sustaining visualization, and directing the mind to higher dimensions. Through devotion to the Ishta Devata, one can invoke the power of Anugraha Shakti, which also frees a person from birth in the womb. If a yogin was a good contemplator, he can regard the world as an illusion and, abiding in contemplative presence, ignore all visions and be absorbed in this state. At this stage it is not easy. Consciousness is constantly subjected to attacks. Dense energies must be released. If a person practiced mantra yoga, he should remember his mantra, the guru mantra or the seed mantra of the Ishta Devata, and continuously recite it. This also helps to close the gates of the womb. If this too does not succeed, it remains to be born in a favorable family, with kind, devout parents, so as to meet the guru early, hear dharma, have the opportunity to continue spiritual practice, and recall sadhu samskaras from a past life. The practice of the four immeasurables is also important. Daily meditation that transforms consciousness. However, the result depends on the quality of your love. If human limited love dominates, you become bound to the human world, To enter higher worlds, love must be refined, transforming it into prema, the purest devotion. The higher and purer the love, the more subtle states of Maya can be dissolved. Through such love, one can be reborn in the upper astral world, at the stage of the seventh node, during traveling in the mental body. These nodal points must be completely purified in the process of sadhana, since they are anchors connecting our consciousness with samsara. They are called nodal because in these places powerful dharma-karma acts, which are impossible to bypass. One can only live through these moments, but living through them, we can remain in a state of awareness, purity, exalted bhava, or transformation into a deity, or else sink into confusion, uncertainty, and clinging. Without purifying these key moments, it is impossible to rise above the human level, let alone attain liberation from the cycles of samsara. We perform various sadhanas that allow the nodal points to be purified. What is purified in the process of offerings, rituals, visualization of oneself as a tantric deity, mantra sadhana, contemplation, or sankalpa? First, our social instincts are purified. We live in society, and our life in it is quite instinctive. Cultural tendencies, habits, inclinations, and imprints accumulated in everyday life through education, relationships, and intellectual development form attachments. Clinging to intellect, social ties, and personality is all connected with manasa karma. Accumulated knowledge and habits become anchors if we have not mastered self-liberation. Mental self-liberation is the first step. It consists in finding pairs of opposites in any experience, then revealing their source, the absolute, Brahman, and defining the qualities of Brahman, which is free of opposites. This makes it possible to abide in an unbreakable state of mind. At the level of mental self-liberation, concepts literally disperse as a laser beam pierces any illusion. Clinging is purified through the sadhanas of the chosen deity or through contemplative self-liberation. When the conceptual mind dissolves, we become free and learn to abide in a more non-dual empty state. Then work with memory begins. Images, samskaras, and moods from past lives emerge from within. This is the most difficult stage of practice because it is impossible to imagine in advance how much is inside. The yoga of the illusory body, abiding of the mind like the sky, mantra sadhana, ritual practices, guru yoga, worship, philosophy, and analysis. All these methods help to purify the dense memory of the subtle body. The subtle body consists of images, subpersonalities, alter egos, thought forms, and projections, everything that forms our subtle body. The practice of samskara shuddhi makes it possible to recall specific samskaras, replay them, and dissolve them. If one's capacities are strong, there is no need to immerse in every detail. Liberation occurs through those methods in which the practitioner is strongest. Deep work is possible in the samadhi of the subtle body. For example, a siddha, possessing the ability to completely erase causal connections, can change the past, and the consequences will manifest in the current life. This is comparable to traveling in a time machine. Interference in the past is reflected in the present. Complete erasure of samskaras is possible at the stage of savikalpa samadhi, with detailed vision of all connections. It is carried out through svatantriya shakti, which depends on jnana shakti, abiding in emptiness, in non-dual Brahman, the ability to remember aham brahmasmi, sarvam eva brahma, and to abide in a mind like the sky. Svatantriya shakti makes it possible to unite this state with experiences, emotions, thoughts, obscurations, and dissolve them. For a practitioner, both forces are extremely necessary, Jnana Shakti and Svatantriya Shakti. Without them, it is impossible to purify the nodal points completely and to overcome the anchors of samsara.